Welcome to Wallace on Wire. Today we're talking about Ming's recent confrontation with a journalist. It all started with this big promotional event, the Lite U program, right there at Pavilion in Bukit Bintang. But what was meant to be a positive launch ended up becoming this huge political flashpoint.
Yeah, it really escalated quickly. We saw the Minister of Housing and Local Government, Ming, suddenly caught in this major controversy. Accusations started flying that he was, well, intimidating the press.
Exactly. It's quite something how a detail, like the language used for a slogan, can just ignite such a massive debate.
It really touches on these core issues, doesn't it? Political power, press freedom,
Uh,
all triggered by that moment when the minister reacted, let's say strongly, to a question. It was a journalist from Malaysia. And that reaction is what led to these claims of intimidation, even coercion.
Right. So what we need to do now, for you listening, is sort of unpack this. Look at what the minister actually did, his defense later on, which was quite forceful.
Oh, definitely forceful.
And try to understand why this whole thing caused such a stir across the political scene. Okay, let's pinpoint the incident itself. This was Wednesday, October 29th. The event was focused on the Lite U campaign. The goal was attracting foreign tourists, setting an international stage.
Correct. And then came the question from the Utusan Malaysia journalist. It was very specific. Why use an English slogan, I lead you, for this project, instead of using, well, Malay, the national language?
And the source of the question matters here, doesn't it? Utusan Malaysia.
Absolutely. It's a major Malay language newspaper, historically significant, often seen as a defender of the national language and identity. So for their journalists to ask that question at that kind of event, an internationally focused one, it wasn't just a casual inquiry. It felt like a challenge.
And the minister's response wasn't just defensive. It was explosive, seems like the right word. He didn't just answer. He criticized the paper, accused them of deliberately making a fuss over language use.
But the critical part, the line that really sparked the outrage, was when he said he would contact the journalist's editor about the question.
That specific statement, that's what changed everything.
Completely. Because it's one thing to disagree, even heatedly, in a press conference. That happens all the time. But threatening to go to someone's boss over a question they ask, that gets perceived very differently.
As a threat.
Exactly. Whether intended or not, it comes across as an attempt to use his power to potentially punish the journalist. That's where it crosses the line from simple disagreement into alleged press suppression.
Okay, so fast forward 2 days. The minister knows he's in hot water, and he comes out with his official response. He didn't back down, did he?
Not at all. He went on the offensive. His argument was essentially that, yes, the media can ask questions, but, he argued, the person being interviewed also has the right to correct the premise of a question if they think it's flawed or, malicious.
So framing it as a fair exchange.
Yeah.
A right to correct.
That was the initial framing, a sort of intellectual sparring. But he quickly ramped it up. He didn't just say the question's premise was wrong. He strongly implied the reporter was deliberately trying to sabotage the event.
Sabotage, using words like looking for trouble.
Yes. A was the term reported, meaning nitpicking or finding fault intentionally. And crucially, he suggested the aim was to embarrass the country, especially since foreign media were there.
So the defense shifts from language choice to protecting the national image. But does that right to correct actually cover calling an editor? That seems to be the sticking point.
Legally or ethically, most would say no. That's the crux of the criticism. You can debate the question, you can refute the premise, but involving the employer looks like overreach. But to bolster his claim of bad faith, Ming pointed something out.
What was that?
He highlighted that both his own press conference and the KL mayor's speech at the event were delivered entirely in Malay. So his point was, look, we use Malay for the official parts. The only English element was this catchy slogan for tourists. By focusing solely on that one English phrase, he argued, the journalists revealed their intention wasn't genuine inquiry, but just to stir up trouble.
So his argument is basically context matters. We use Malay extensively. The English was minor and strategic. And anyone who can't accept that correction is just overreacting.
Pretty much. He framed it as hypersensitivity to being called out. But regardless of whether you buy his defense, the political reaction was instant and, frankly, predictable.
Yeah, the political scene just seized on this. It split right down party lines, didn't it?
Oh, immediately. A perfect opportunity for the opposition.
So let's talk about that fallout. The opposition didn't hold back. Harris Idaham Rashid from Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia.
Their youth information chief. He jumped right in. Bersatu clearly saw a chance here, especially on an issue touching national identity. He flat out called Ming's remarks intimidation. Full stop.
And he didn't just condemn it, he called for action.
Right. Yes, a pretty strong call. He urged media groups and online news portals to actually boycott covering the minister, essentially trying to turn the media against him as a consequence.
Yeah. Wow, a boycott. That's serious. But then there was also the criticism from UMNO Youth's Akmal Salah. That one had a different flavor almost. Sarcastic.
Deeply pointed, yes. Akmal Salah zeroed in on the irony, the political irony.
Which was?
Well, he reminded everyone that Ming, when he was in the opposition, was incredibly vocal about press freedom, constantly attacking the government back then for muzzling journalists, demanding the right for the press to ask tough questions without fear.
Ah, the classic poacher-turned-gamekeeper argument.
Exactly. Akmal painted this picture, the former champion of press freedom now, as a minister with power, getting angry and seemingly threatening a journalist for doing precisely what he used to demand the right to do.
That's a powerful narrative to push. It suggests hypocrisy, that principles change once you're in power. Very effective politically.
Very. And it wasn't just politicians scoring points. The media institutions themselves weighed in.
Like the National Union of Journalists.
The National Union of Journalists of Peninsular Malaysia, yes. They issued a formal condemnation.
What was their take? Just a misunderstanding? Or did they see it as more sinister?
They took it very seriously. NUJM didn't frame it as just an attempted threat or clumsy words. Their statement basically argued that the minister's actions constitute an act of suppression of press freedom in Malaysia.
Suppression. That's a strong word.
It is. They see it as setting a dangerous precedent,
Right.
a minister potentially using their position to punish journalists for critical reporting. They're defending the press's role as a check on power.
So this really brings us to the heart of it. On one side, you have the minister feeling attacked, maybe genuinely believing he was correcting a malicious attempt to undermine a national project.
Right, arguing for his right to push back against what he saw as bad faith questioning.
And on the other side, you have the opposition and media bodies saying, hold on, threatening to call an editor crosses a fundamental line. That's intimidation. That chills free speech.
Precisely. Which leads to a really interesting question for you, the listener, to consider. Think about the context. An international tourism campaign, foreign media present. Was the journalist's question about the English slogan a necessary check on national language policy, legitimate scrutiny? Or, as the minister claims, was it timed and framed specifically to disrupt the event, to cause trouble, maybe even intentional sabotage? Where do you personally draw that line?
Between tough journalism and deliberately trying to derail something.
Yeah. It's a complex ethical and political question, because ultimately this whole incident isn't really just about the slogan Lite U. It's a snapshot of that constant push and pull, the tension between government authority trying to manage its message and the press trying to hold that authority accountable.
Especially when sensitive things like language and national pride get involved.
Exactly. It just throws that tension into sharp relief. It shows press freedom isn't just a concept, it's something actively contested in the political arena.
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.